to see because frag grenades and flashbangs are a big part of this attacking lineup. Final deliberations coming in. We're going to have to see who InControlNation bans. As predicted, Thatcher is off the board.
Yeah, they really need to do something about Thatcher being one of those bands that just comes out on almost every professional or comp level gameplay. And he's just one of those operators who's just really powerful overall. Ubisoft hasn't really changed him since the beginning of the game. And I don't know if that's because he is balanced in a sense or if he's just too powerful. And if they change him, the meta would completely shift. They added Callie to try and give a couple of other options, but to be honest, Thatcher isn't really necessary in order to play Siege normally. You don't have to completely change your strategies because he's banned half of the time.
And honestly, I would like to see Callie, this is a total tangent by the way, to get a little buff where her little breaching launcher does a little bit more explosive damage and it can actually destroy things behind walls. So for example, if there's a Meister Evil Eye on the other side of a wall, well the Thatcher would open it up, but the Callie wouldn't destroy it. I think if she just had a bigger radius or even like an EMP style effect, I don't know. I think that would be a good buff to have her have because when you don't have the Thatcher in play, attacking can be a definite pain. But there are ways to counter strat, and that definitely separates good teams because you should be prepared for a Thatcher ban. And when Thatcher is brought, it kind of changes the entire meta. Like you forget, wow, this is what this game used to be like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to see a bar and cocktail lounge hold here for the defense of In Control Nation. And I do have to say that going upstairs is always one of those normal site picks. You don't really try and throw something out there. You're just trying to establish some kind of momentum, some kind of normality before you actually get into starting your strats. You're probably going to see the deployable shield of Mellow playing inside of Piano, holding that pixel angle. It is so strong, and it really just denies the attackers and makes them think twice. And the ability to run a Wamai and a Jaeger combination, it just burns utility after utility. And on this side, you have Prism, who are bringing those flashbangs to Zofia, so they are ready to take that pixel angle and take control of Piano, and that's kind of how you have to push this site.
This strategy coming out by INC reminds me of early 2020. You have a Mute, you have a Mozzie, you have a Jaeger, you have Wamai. Pure information and utility denial. Honestly, Mozzie's kind of fallen out of favor after that Super Shorty was removed from his kit. I'm not sure why. Like, I understand having rotations and your overall time prep in the mid rounds are very important, so the Super Shorty definitely extends that. But the fact that he fell off the face of the earth altogether and he only sees like a 30% play rate just kind of baffles me. And we're going to see why he should be played more because he's going to be shutting down a minimum of 3 drones and not to include the drones that he's basically stopping from entering in a doorway. Defiance is going to get very aggressive early on the red hatch. He's not going to net anything and think wisely about his decisions and rotate to a safer position in Piano.
Yeah, and that is something that you do want to see. You want to have In Control Nation moving around if you're Prism. You want to make them uncomfortable, make the stakes that you can capitalize on. It's going to be Nacho, though, finding the first kill onto Bone with a Claymore, but Bone picks off Corn before that. It's going to be Defiance jumping out. He finds Nacho on the rappel, shoots the air jab, and he'll be able to safely rotate back in, or no, he won't. It's going to be Spiff inside a reading room along with Buck. He is trying to waste a ton of time, but he's hitting air jab after air jab, and it really doesn't look good for him now as Spiff's holding the angle, and Defiance is still outside. He's been outside for, I don't know, it feels like a minute, but Spiff's going to swing around and end his reign outside. So now it's a 3v3, and it's going to be Mello rotating up white stairs and Audi holding one of the punch holes. Now,
Wow.
hitting the minute 6 mark, we'll see what they can do in a 3v3.
Wow, what a run by Defiance. He stood outside and look at that visual glitch. What on earth is going on? I'm not even sure what he's holding in his hand. It doesn't make any sense, just like the run out by Defiance. But here we find ourselves under 60 seconds and an equal man count 3-3 apiece. The attackers are going to have to start to gain more map control and get a little quicker on this execute if they want to be successful. And you can definitely see that InControlNation is aware of this, and they're going to be playing it out perfectly and to a T, just wasting time. Vertical destruction by Mello is going to continuously come and try to push away Yusuke, who's playing in bar number 3. A bad repel comes in by Spiff, and he's going to get punished. Mello's going to tack onto the board as well, and it's going to be a third flurry of kills coming out by Mellows. He gets 2 kills in this round, and a brilliant execute defense by the defensive lineup of INC.
And you really got to look at that round and how aggressive Defiance played. He had no fear jumping out of yellow window and taking the fight on the rappel. He did have one of his teammates hit the Claymore at the bottom. I believe that was the run out by Reading Room. That's where that first Claymore went off. So they both did a coordinated run out at 2 times. Only one person died though, and you lose. It was really a 2-for-2 trade. But Defiance wasted a lot of the attacker's time, and they really surrendered their position in Reading Room to try and get the frag onto Defiance outside. Ballsy play paid off.
Indeed it did. Something I wasn't expecting. And now we see him back on the Warden, an operator that he's played a few times here on Cafe. He likes to situate himself on the VIP side with a shield. And since he's running over here right now to White Corridor, I'm going to assume that he's going to be playing a very similar setup to what we saw in postseason of Season 3. The beauty about this setup by INC is it's almost impossible to remove Defiance from his position. You not only have to burn his shield, all the utility that's going to be going with his shield, but you're not going to be able to utilize flashbangs to get rid of him off that position. And that's going to be the real spearhead of this defense. We've seen a lot of teams attempt to push from the bakery side to basically walk around Defiance. But the problem with that is, if you do a pure bakery side take, you really don't have a lot of real estate or a lot of avenues to set up. The other end of this strategy, though, we've also seen Defiance post himself up in Big Bakery, too. And that's what I love about INC. They have so many different strategies, so many different setups, and they're going to be changing things up just a little bit here in round number 2. It looks like my mate has muted himself again, so we're just gonna wait for him to
realize I am muted. Yep. Okay, cool. All right. So I was saying something about they need to take vertical control here if you're Prism Esports. You want to try and flush the defenders out of their hiding spots in sight, make them uncomfortable, force them to make the mistakes. If there's one thing that Prism is doing really well right now is their ability to take map control. And that is what they're doing with this top-down approach here. We have Mello playing above in Cigar, holding the hatch, and he's probably not in the best spot right now to try and establish that vertical control. Still 5 bodies versus 5 bodies, and they've really just stopped at the top here.
Good point, my friend. But here comes the gunshots raining out, taking up that vertical pressure. But 90 seconds left in this round, and that's wonderful time execute coming out by the attackers. And the whole point of this is to start funneling the defense into positions where they currently aren't comfortable. And you can see it's working perfectly to a T, as actually that's Bone upstairs trying to get aggressive to prevent that vertical destruction, but Nacho's going to punish that early on. That's going to be your main off-site pressure taken care of, but now you're going to have to deal with all the pressure on the first floor. You can see the QE spam coming out by Spiff as he's trying to deal with the players sitting in VIP, but not landing any shots. They're still wasting plenty of time. They're going to have to start moving forward if they want to be successful. Audi's moved up to help his mate sitting in VIP. The Aldo's going to start chiming out, but that's just preventing Spiff from working his way down brown stairs. Nacho's now going to move up to help in the take of VIP. He's going to be sitting in coat, establishing his own crossfires. Korn off screen is going to find a kill of his own. Mello's going to be off the board, and more lineup from INC continues to fall. It's now a 2v5, and things aren't looking well if you're an INC fan. The vertical destruction is going to come in, and holes work both ways. The Defiance finds a headshot of his own, and things are starting to work back. There's 2 big downs by Yusuke. It's now effectively a 2v2 with 14 seconds left. It's going to have to be a bomb plant, and that's not going to happen as it's a big flank coming out. A huge
Oh
round
my
by Yusuke and
goodness.
Defiance. It's a 2v5 for those guys, and they play it perfectly.
Yeah, not entirely certain what Prism was doing there. They realistically had control of Freezer's side, and they kind of just stalled at the end there. 5v2, and you let Defiance upstairs with Valk use the holes that you made against him, hold you in Freezer, and try and make you uh a little bit more hesitant when you're pushing in. I don't like exactly what Prism did there, and it really showed that Yusuke was able to capitalize on their blunders and mistakes, and that's why they're up 2-0, and they lost a 5v2 in about 10 or 15 seconds. It's hard to do.
It's hard to do, but they definitely made it look easy. And that's kind of the problem with strategies like that. But let's break down round number 2. A wonderful initial execute. They grabbed map control in the first, we'll call it 90 seconds of the round. They started to do their vertical destruction. But the problem came down to their initial execute. And when they crashed back on the first floor, it took them a little while to deal with that offsite presence. And then once they did deal with their offsite presence, there was so little time left to execute, they had to push through fatal funnels, and it was just an easy clap for the attacking, or the defensive lineup of InControlNation. And that's exactly what InControlNation wants you to do. They want you to get aggressive to them because they really rely heavily on their gunfighting ability. And any member of that 5-man team of InControlNation can get aggressive and can win gunfights. We've seen it multiple times. So you have to play a strategy that's really set up to prevent the defense of getting aggressive. And that's what vertical destruction is designed for, forcing them into positions they don't want to be.
So now Defiance bringing the pulse here is actually something I want to focus on. A lot of teams don't opt to bring a pulse because it works both ways. But if you're Prism right now, you realize that they're not bringing in IQ, which is the one counter to pulse that can really just put a hinder on your defense. But Defiance realizes that they haven't played an IQ, and that's where adapting comes into play. Pulse is very powerful in a full stack of people who are well coordinated, and InControlNation is a prime example of that. That being said, Prism is going to try and do this roam clear. They do have that default hold in Reading Room. I'm sorry, excuse me, in Cocktail to hold Reading Room. So that could prove to be a challenge for Prism, but they're wasting no time opening up the hatches, and it looks like Spiff's going to be taking some shots from Cocktail Lounge of Audi. He's going to be down to just above 75 HP, just under 75 HP, excuse me. And that's probably the first gunfight we're going to see of the round. And so far, Prism has established top floor control to the most part. They have control of Piano, but they haven't really been able to translate it and get rid of that main hold in Cocktail. So we'll see how they can do that, especially with only a minute 30 left.
It's going to be an interesting roller coaster for Prism Esports, but that's exactly the start they needed. That's going to be Audi off the board. A brilliant headshot coming out by Nacho. We're going to have to find more, but Bone's going to live up to his teammates' name and be Defiance holding in this position and claiming bodies as they continue to work through U-Bar. But Quorum is in a unique position. He finds himself in Train Room. The attackers might be rotating their lineup and change their execute altogether. It's going to be on Defiance this time with that pulse to communicate that information. Quorum's going to see the one in Reading Room. He's going to have some shots rain out, and Mello's going to find himself at sitting approximately 10 HP. He will be felled by any amount of lead that gets his way. So hopefully he's aware of that. More vertical destruction is going to come in as the other Mello finds Mello. The battle of the Mellos, and then this time it's going to be Prism Mello just getting the better in this round. Defiance on the big flank. He's going to put a big kill up on the board, and appears like everybody's going to be moonwalking, but Quorum is going to come back to planet Earth and put a bullet in Defiance's head this time. It's now a 2v3. We found ourselves in a very situation in round number 2, and it was a big clutch by INC. Will they be able to replicate it, or will it be Prism claiming their first round? It's now a 1v3, but the planner is going to be spotted in default. 2 big kills for Bone. It's now a 1v1 with 4 seconds left, but Bone is looking the wrong way and gets punished. A brilliant round by both of these teams, but in the end, it was Prism getting the better of InControlNation.
Can we just talk about how Bone was able to just kind of completely deny the plant and the person outside of the plant? He didn't hear the Zofia because of the crouch walking, but Bone was very close to winning that round for his team, so you got to give him props and credit where it is due. However, great job by Prism on their execute for taking top floor and eliminating that cocktail hold, which is very difficult to do without wasting and burning all the utility. They did lose one player who pushed up on the shield, but ultimately they did flush them down towards sight, and that's ultimately what they wanted to do. And you saw Mellow, which was Buck of Prism, have to specify which Mellow here. Um, he was able to rip open the floor above and flush those defenders out, and that really ultimately won them that round. And they kind of just made mistakes on InControlNation's part. Um, and Prism capitalized on it. So you see a one-score game here, rightly so.
Wonderful point, my friend. But we're going to be diving back into round number 4 with a different operator lineup compared to round number 1, where we would see In Control Nation win. They ran a Mute Mozzie combination, but now it's going to be Defiance running the Valkyrie. And this leads me to believe it's going to be another monumental run out coming by In Control Nation. That's what won them round number 1, if we're going to be honest with ourselves. So maybe they're going to be attempting a thing similar to that. And unfortunately for Prism, they're currently not running an IQ. So the only way of spotting these Valcams are going to be by phase checking. Unfortunate for Defiance, nobody's going to be spotting on the north side. I stand corrected. There is one lone soul on the north side, but he's not going to elect to shoot Sweek, who's running too far away for that MPXP shooter to claim anybody's life. But here comes the run out anyways, and I am proven wrong as Defiance gets a beautiful headshot and a nice opening kill for him.
Yeah, definitely something that you are not expecting if you're Prism. But Defiance, when Valkyrie's on the board, he is an absolute menace to play against. He's going to be prone outside of Pillar Room door. He's going to try and catch another member of Prism Esports asleep. But Nacho is ready for that. The Nitro Cell in hand, he's going to try and detonate that air jab and get another run out going. He's going to detonate that air jab, run out, but he is completely punished. And off-screen, Bone will fall, and he will pick off, I believe, Sweetcolo. Sweetcolo? I don't even know how to say that name. So many Olos. I'm just going to call him Olo.
Mr. Olo. I'm sorry, I don't know, I found that so funny. But let's return back to this game. And as you mentioned, Olo will no longer be affected this round. It's an equal man count, and so there's 3 breathing bodies for both of these teams. And the vertical destruction is going to be reversed this time, as Buck's going to be shooting underneath Piano Bar, trying to alleviate the pressure. That was Mellow. Mellow's going to find himself in a gunfight and kill your main entry. That's going to be Spiff, no longer a factor in this round, but Mello is still sitting at 10 HP. He will be slammed by any bullets that comes his way. So definitely a winnable round for Prism Esports. But they're going to have to grab map control, and they're going to have to grab map control very quickly if they want to be successful here. You can see the defensive lineup just waiting very patiently for the attackers to start pushing into their barrels. These Meister Evil Eyes are going to be providing so much information as the attackers continue to get closer and closer to actually executing upon this objective. But the defense still holding their angles and doing everything they can to delay as much time as possible.
Yeah, and right now, Audie is going to be sitting inside of Washroom, and that's not something that Prism knows at all. Mello is inside of Freezer, though, and that could be also a really bad angle. Right now, Prism really struggling to try and get anything going. There's the peak, though, and a brilliant shot here from none other than Nacho. He's gonna find a kill on Audie and Mello in change. So up to Yusuke, but he's got the Alda with 80 bullets in hand. But he's gonna get the final kill onto Nacho. A little bit of BM there as you down Zofia. Gonna have the knife kill. Finish it off here. InControlNation take a 2-round lead over Prism here on Cafe.
Matt, was that a suppressed Aldo we just saw?
I like to think that it wasn't, but yes.
But yes, I believe you are correct. It was a suppressed Alda and doing what the Alda does best, sending pain and punishment on anybody who's on the receiving end. Another phenomenal round win coming out by INC. But just to remind you, Cafe is a hyper defensive sided map. So a 4-2 split in favor of the defense is very normal, which basically means Prism has done 50% of their goal. They just need to win one more round, whether it's round number 5 or round number 6, it really doesn't matter. But if they take the cake in one of those rounds, they're going to find themselves in a wonderful position moving forward to their defensive half. Now, how are you going to shut down the aggression that's coming out by INC? That's going to be the big question that Prism Esports needs to ask themselves in round number 5 and round number 6, because it's constantly Defiance and one of his buddies stepping up big, doing a large roam clear and not getting punished for it. We have seen Nomad brought, but now it's going to be a Gridlock being brought to try to mitigate those roaming presence, and maybe that's the answer that Prism needs.
Yeah, we saw last time where InControlNation was playing inside of Kitchen. Prism almost was able to win that round. Unfortunately, they didn't. 5v2 didn't go in their favor. They started to, I don't want to say choke, but they kind of were at a standstill at the last 20 seconds. They had control of Freezer, they just were not able to capitalize. If you're Prism going into this round, you want to try and do the same exact thing. You want to take top floor control, work your way down, and establish vertical pressure early. You do that, you're going to force the defenders out and try and force you out from that vertical control. And that's what we saw last time that InControl did, but Prism was ready for that, and they were already downstairs by Freezer getting those crossfires established while they had the vertical pressure above. And that was one of the key factors to them taking so much control and many bodies off the board. They were just not able to capitalize on that last push. And you have that deployable shield of, believe it's Defiance deployable shield, but it's going to be... who's playing behind that shield in Dining?
I believe it looks like Mellow in both of
Mellow?
the deployables.
Okay. So, definitely putting more utility on that Freezer side isn't a bad option here. Considering that they did do a heavy Freezer push last time, you're probably going to see a Bakery push this time.
That's true, and it looks like we are currently in buffer mode as, again, all the players in this lobby have been transported up to Mars. But it's going to be 100 seconds left in this lobby. Whoa, we just went from 100 seconds to 60 seconds. Apparently, I just teleported through space and time. But it might be the attackers that are going to need to do exactly that if they want to expedite this clear. They have established that the second and third floors have been relinquished, and here comes that vertical pressure. The last time they were here, the vertical pressure worked brilliantly. With the aggression from Audi is going to work just as brilliantly, and that's going to be Nacho off the board, the man that almost dropped an ace in round number 4. We're going to have to see his mates fill up his position, and that's going to be Spiff lining up to deal with the players sitting in VIP. But the attackers have now pushed in through Freezer, and it's going to be a bomb plant momentarily as the circle of death, the Death Star, shows in front of us as we're just waiting to see what happens throughout this game.
And
as
staring straight at Warden, and he's frozen. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Lots of bodies will fall here. A double kill for Audi on the board as this last second plant doesn't go in their favor again. Olo's gonna be alone, all alone, alone in Freezer. And I see quite a lot of lag, and yeah, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Might have to do a rehost here and get this round going, but definitely going to go in favor of InControlNation for that round, as they were able to stop that push.
Wow, I was so excited to see what was happening throughout that round. All I know is that Defiance had a gun barrel to the back of his head, and then suddenly he teleported somewhere else, and I have no idea what happened. We're just gonna wait on admin to confirm if we need to make a rehost or what's going on. But I was really excited to see how that final execute was going to happen. And I have been confirmed that we will be taking a rehost. So we will be back with you in approximately 5 to 10 minutes. Oh, apparently they're telling me there's no rehost right now. Sometimes my three brain cells don't work out so well. I just make up words. If I hear yes, I hear no. It just doesn't matter. So we're actually going to keep going with this game. Hopefully, we're going to fix all of our technical issues. But the last time we were here in round number 3, it was a brilliant defense that suddenly crumbled last minute as a 1v3, and Bone was just unable to win the impossible.
Yeah, I can only see as much as I saw last round, and what I saw was that it was a 5v5, and then it was a 1v3. So, I mean, I don't know what happened in between that, but it looked like their push from Freezer didn't work again. And I don't know why they pushed it again, because InControlNation put so much utility on that back wall and Freezer. The fact that Prism still decided to try and actively use their utility to try and get control of that, where they had no pressure in Bakery side, and that could have been an easier take, in my opinion. I don't know. It just seems like Prism's kind of not using their full potential per se in terms of what they can actually accomplish with the operators they're bringing.
That's true. And here we are. It's going to be the last defensive round for In Control Nation. The big question is, will they end this half at a 5-1 or a 4-2 split? I can see the server is continuously having an aneurysm. I think it's been infected by my three brain cells. I don't know if the threads on this CPU is just not working well or what's going on, but obviously the Ubisoft servers are just having a little hiccup today, but it's going to be a gunfight, and I believe it's going to be Defiance taking that hiccup as Quorum finishes him off. The early aggression with the UMP not working well, and those wall hacks that Defiance has built in will no longer be a factor here in round number 6.
Yeah, interesting decision for Defiance to get that aggressive, especially with a Pulse who offers so much intel, considering that the site is by reading room. You kind of want him to try and stop that vertical attack. Pulse is really good at trying to deny that, and as I say that, Melo's going to use a C4 and take Spiff off the board. That's the Ash gone now. And now we're back to an equal man count. It's a 4v4, and still, In Control Nation and company are holding inside of Cocktail effectively. Now, one thing I want to note before we see Buck absolutely obliterated by Melo's SMG, and another body falls, Bone finds Olo, and just like that, it's a 2v4. Corm and Nacho, the last members of Prism, alive, but as I was trying to say, Corm plays really aggressive with Nomad, where there are a lot of players that don't like to take the fights as often as they do. The SMG-11, though, is going to shred Corm, and Nacho will find the refrag onto Audi. He finds a kill on a Yusuke, too. He's the last member alive of Prism with 50 seconds left. He does have the diffuser. He does not have the diffuser, excuse me, but he still has to find out where Melo and Bone are located. And he doesn't have a lot of intel as we see Melo sliding across the floor here near the bottom of White Stairs. Lots of rubber bending going on here as the sprays to the wall from Nacho trying to net himself a kill. He's just got under 30 seconds left in order to try and make something happen using his utility that he has to try and push near sight. Now he does have the diffuser in hand. He's going to rotate towards Train. Mute is holding on the reinforcement. That's Melo. He's going to swing out, try and find the kill onto Nacho, but Nacho's gonna get shot in the feet. He's gonna pop up, and it's going to be Melo sliding across the floor, finding Nacho.
It looks like the server constantly is getting mute jammered or yokai blasted, so hopefully we're able to find a way around this. And a valiant attempt coming out by Nacho, but sadly he was felled by the SMG-11 wielding Audi. Now we're going to have to see how this side swap actually transpires. Are we going to see continuous aggression coming out of the side of Prisma, very much like In Control Nation did? Or are we going to see a more structured style of defense coming out by Prism? And one thing, though, that we've seen teams play and be successful against INC is you have to play very structured. And the moment you try to fight fire with fire, it's usually In Control Nation just starting to wipe the floor with teams. And that's one reason that we saw rosters like URMN win because they were so structured. They really relied on that structure, their strategies to beat teams that are aggressive.
Yeah, and that was something we saw last season for In Control towards the end. This is the same roster as Kazoku Red, so I am going to try and kind of look at that fact. Now, Bone was the only, I believe, exception on that. I'm not too good at keeping up with team changes, but you did see that teams that were able to beat them, they played a slower paced style. In Control Nation is kind of in your face style of aggressive attacks and defenses. So if you're Prism right now, you want to try and force them to make the mistakes and not have you make the mistakes. Now, I know that's kind of the name of the game, as capitalizing on mistakes is kind of what can win you rounds. But mitigating those mistakes are going to make it even easier for you to capitalize on the enemy's mistakes. So if you're Prism right now, don't do anything stupid and just play as a team, and you should be all right winning this round, getting a little bit of momentum back in your favor.
It's important if you're Prisma just to remember there's more to Rainbow Six Siege than just gun go burr. You also have to use your brain cells and all of those CUDA cores in your GPU. But we're going to see the newest gadget to Rainbow Six Siege. Go throw it up on the red wall, and those are going to be the proximity alarms. And you can hear my co-caster in the background hating every bad joke I make. And it's a big run out by Spiff as he claims defiance, but he lands into Mello's lap and gets knifed. What just happened? The big brain plays, but it's also going to be a nice shot by another trade as we find ourselves with 4 dead bodies.
I think I just watched a casual run out. You don't do that in comp gameplay. And that's the reason why Mello waiting there with a knife and good reaction times. Sometimes I can't even locate my melee button in time to do something like that. So props to Mello for doing that. But as we say that, Olo's going to fall to Yusuke with the SMG-11 is second on the round. Now Nacho, the last member of Prism alive, as Mello will find the last kill. He will win the round for InControlNation. There's that aggressive style not paying off. I talked about not doing anything stupid. If you're Prism right here, jumping out of the window, when you're down 1 to 5, nearing match point, most likely will die. I'm just questioning that decision and wondering if it was intentional or not.
Honestly, it was a big play. He killed Defiance. I don't think he was expecting to land right in front of Mello. But, I mean, it was unique. I haven't seen a strategy like that in a while, and we were talking about how important it would be to bring out different strategies, and maybe that was what they needed to do. Oh, no. I don't know. Bone is on a Russian roulette of operators, but he's going to end up doing the big brain 6-pick Zofia. We saw everything there from Amaru to what looked like a Buck, what looked like to honestly everything. A Nook was also shown there. So I was excited to see what would happen. And you can see the banter in chat as I think everybody in this lobby is just equally as perplexed about what happened. We're going to move on, though, and move into round number 8, though, and it's going to be a kitchen-style defense coming out by Prism. And it's going to be interesting. How are they going to elect to hold this? Are they going to do an extended hold, very similar to InControlNation? Are they going to do a top-down hold to prevent vertical map control? Or is it just going to be a lateral first-floor hold? We're going to have to wait and see.
I feel like if you're Prism right now, you just got to go back to your roots. You have not been able to get anything going since the beginning of the game, really. So you've got to try and establish some kind of momentum, some kind of rhythm that is normal to try and mount your momentum back in your favor. And right now, Prism just needs to play safe. They can't be jumping out of windows down 1 to 6 now. It might work to get 1 kill, but in the long run, you have to stay alive and stop those mistakes from happening. You need to play smart. Use your brain. And that's what you have to do in comp gameplay. Yusuke is going to rush right in, find a kill on a Mello, but he's going to get refragged by Olo. And that is your Maestro off the board, and Yusuke as the soft breach off the board as well. Already, we see Bone inside of Coat Check. But we have Korm holding the angle from Small Bakery towards Coat Check, making sure that the attackers of InControlNation don't get any more real estate than what they already have.
And it's going to be 2 minutes left in this game. And as you mentioned, it's still 8-8 breathing bodies, but Melo's going to jinx me on that, and that's going to be Spiff off the board. More bodies continue to fall by Prisma, but there's still plenty of time for both these teams to be successful here. You can hold deep angles here in Small Bake, and I believe the player of Doc is going to be spotted and obliterated by a double crossfire. Bone is going to be credited with that kill. It is honestly his mate in Bakery that could have also taken that. It's now a 4v2, and the more ice skating continues to happen, maybe that's what Prisma needs to win is ice skating, as Olo finds a big headshot on Defiance, and he's been playing Thermite on attack, a curious decision, something that doesn't always happen, and so far, it doesn't look like it's working out well for him. It is Audi picking up Olo's kill. It's now a 1v3 with the dying seconds left of this round. Nacho's going to find one, but the double commit's going to come out, and it's going to be InControlNation, ending up wiping the face of Prisma as it's a 7-1 here on Cafe. The second 7-1 for InControl as they show up big here in week number 2.
Yeah, and you almost kind of expected this, as Prism Esports Academy is one of those rookie teams. They're not quite set in stone in terms of competitive gameplay here in Siege Cardinal League. InControlNation is no stranger to this the competitive style of Siege Cardinal League. Siege Cardinal League is fast-paced, moving gameplay, and you really want to kind of capitalize on that. So if you're Prism, it was a good showing. You were able to show some strategies, but there were blunders. You can't lose a 5v2, and I can't believe I have to keep saying and going back to this, but it's really difficult to have that much control of the map and still find a way to lose that. So, not to say that they are the worst team in the sense, but they do have a lot of work ahead of them to get ready for their next match against Unreal Nightmare. Well,
and it looks like Defiance is in our waiting for interview, so let's drag the Enigma up to our channel. And here he is. Defiance is joining us again for his second 7-1 victory in a row. My friend, how are you doing?
Very good.
Man of many words today. So I want to talk about this game. Were you expecting to have a second 7-1 in a row?
Yeah. We were expecting 7-0, but these guys, we already beat them in another league on the same map. We were surprised they brought us back to Cafe even when they had a sub. It was very confusing for us because we mollywopped them on this map, and we just did what we did last time.
Alrighty, so I gotta ask, what was with this role swap? Mello was on Ash, and you were on Thermite. What was that ideology? Was Dash doing some like black magic behind our backs, or?
We just thought that, you know how there's mellows on both teams?
Yep.
We were gonna put up our mellow versus their mellow to see who's better, and we saw the conclusion of that.
So basically, your whole idea was Mello on Mello violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, I love it. I love to hear it, my friend. Now, talk to me about your runouts, especially the runout around number 1, where you just basically sat outside for like 30 seconds.
We knew they were holding on me on white. We had a cam on them, then we had calls on that. So I just had to stay outside after I got my other pick because I first of all killed all 3 of their nomads, and then I just burned time, as much time as I could, and did a bit of damage to that Ash. I wasn't escaping there with my life, so I at least burned the clock down.
You definitely wasted a lot of time. Matt, any questions for Defiance?
Yeah, I want to know what you guys were thinking when it was the 2v5 with 20 seconds left. There are not a lot of times where teams can pull off an upset like that, especially with such little time and the diffuser nearly going down.
I was confident in my Canadian brother, Yusuke. He was holding down site pretty strong. They let me flank because no one was above at that point. It makes no sense why, but they all decided to rotate down. I get constant pings. I started wallbanging them, and after I got the first kill above, and then Yusuke started killing people on site, we knew we won the round.
Brilliant. Matt, any more questions to our friend before I let him be?
I actually don't, but congratulations on your win, and yeah.
So since you're a regular here in this channel, what do you have to say to all your supporters and all your haters? Because you have a lot in both camps.
Well, To our supporters, thanks for coming out again. Hope we gave you a good performance, a good show for you guys to have a fun laugh at. For all the haters, we're gonna still millywop any team you're on. So come at us.
Defiance, my friend, it's always a pleasure. Hopefully, we'll see you back next week.
Thank you very much. Have a
Cheers,
good one.
mate. Cheers.